2, verses 1 through 8. That is when Artaxerxes allowed Nehemiah, his cupbearer, to go back and rebuild the walls and make Jerusalem a sovereign place with with gates and walls and someone that's governing it living inside. It hadn't been that way. But that command actually happened. If you can even look it up on the most unreliable source of all, Wikipedia, and it'll tell you that it's 445 or 444 BC. And like a broken clock, it's right twice a day, And so that occurred in 445 BC until Messiah the Prince. There shall be 7 weeks and 62 weeks. So God says there are 70 somethings. Well, 445 BC, when was Jesus crucified? Well, either, depending on, if you listen to Chuck Swindoll or Dallas Seminary or John MacArthur or whoever, it's somewhere between 30 and 33 AD. And that's because of the lunar, Passover, it's a lunar calendar, and to have Friday be the day he's crucified, you have to look for when that would be. And because of that, 30 or 33 AD is the common conservative view. 445 BC, so you have 445 years, you get 30 more. Wow. That means that these weeks are not weeks of days or weeks of weeks. They're years. Heptads are years. So what it's saying is, God has, back up here, look, right there it is. God says, I have 70 weeks. I have 490 years. 490 years planned until the world ends. Now, do you see where everybody, gets all these wild, zany ideas? Watch what happens. He says, there is a command, and until Messiah the Prince, Jesus, something happens to him, 7 weeks and 62 weeks. That takes us, 7 and 62 is only 69 weeks, or the 483 years. And did you know what? If you calculate in, it's 475, but we operate on the Gregorian calendar. And we have to realize that they had first a solar calendar, then they had the Julian calendar, then they went to the Gregorian calendar. And if you want to take the time and look at a good study Bible, you'll find that it exactly comes down not just to the year, but from this command until Christ marched into town on Palm Sunday is exactly 173,880 days, which is exactly 490, 360 years. But that doesn't matter. We've covered that many times on Sunday night. What's missing still? 1. Now watch what the rest of this says. And after the 62 weeks, Messiah shall be cut off. So if you had the other verse, it's 7 and 62. So after 69 weeks, 483 years, Messiah will be cut off. What's that? It's the crucifixion. Now look at this. This is what we're getting to Jesus' quote. Not for himself. Jesus was a substitute. And the people of the prince who is to come, anybody can figure this out. The people that destroyed Jerusalem and the temple, who was that in AD 70? Who killed 1.1 million Jews? And who leveled the city of Jerusalem? And who quelled the Jewish revolt? Rome. So when it says the people, it's Rome. The Roman Empire. That's the people who destroyed the city and the sanctuary after Jesus was crucified. Jesus was crucified in 30 AD, and 40 years later, in 70 AD, the Romans came and said, enough is enough, Jews, and deported anybody that survived, but killed 1,100,000. Wow. But notice what it says. This is the Antichrist. This is the one who is the worst human that will ever live. He is the prince of the people who destroyed the city and the sanctuary. Now, look what Jesus says about him. Then he, who is the he? Here he's called the prince that will come. If we had enough time and I took you through chapter 7, chapter 8, chapter 11, he's called a lot of other names. He's called the little horn. He's called the one with the fierce countenance. He is called the abomination that makes desolate. You remember when we looked in Matthew 24? Jesus said, when you see this abomination that causes desolation in the temple, what temple would he be in? Well, look what happens. He, the Antichrist, or the beast of chapter 13 of Revelation, he confirms a covenant with many. How many? Well, how many Muslims are there? 1.2 billion. How many Jews are there? 7 million. This man, not only is the Antichrist, not only the worst human that ever lived, he's also the smartest and most clever. And you know what he gets? He gets the 1.2 billion Muslims to shake hands with Israel. And they say, you can build that temple you always wanted up there in Jerusalem. You can build it. Not just that. He allows them to sacrifice and offer to God. Do you want to know what would cause World War III today? If you got the Jews up by the Dome of the Rock, slitting some lamb's throat and burning it, all Muslim hell would break loose for that. This man, he makes a peace covenant with Israel and the world. How did he make it? He is the prince who is to come of the Roman. This is where, if you've ever heard of the revived Roman Empire, the dispensationalists didn't think of it. God says it. But what is it? Well, there are 70 weeks. 7 of them are gone. 62 of them are gone. You already did the math. 1 of them is left. A week of years is 7 years. How long is the tribulation? Say it out loud. 7 years. Look what it says here. It says, in the middle of the week. What is that? That's why, if you read the book of Revelation, it says 42 months. What's 42 months? 42 months is 3.5 years. What is that? It's 1,260 days. What is that? It's from the middle to the end of 7 years. What is the 7 years? It's the 70 weeks God has planned for his people, minus the 69 that are already accomplished that ended at the cross, meaning there's 1 week of human history, 7 years left on the clock. But it's an indeterminate time. Between the cross in AD 30 and today, the Lord has allowed us in the church to thrive, to go to every kingdom and tongue and tribe and nation and share the gospel. But there's a moment coming when God is going to call back every demon that's out in the universe and the devil himself and confine all of them to planet Earth. That period of time is 1 week or 7 years long. And for the first 3.5, this guy is doing this. He's making everybody happy. He's using the NSA records, and you got to worship, or whatever he uses, to make sure no one can buy or sell. And he's putting himself up as the global peacemaker. He gets the Jews sacrificing in Jerusalem, but he breaks his word in the middle and turns on the Jews. And that is the 7-year tribulation, the second half, which is horrific, which culminates with the abomination which makes desolation. You say, so what? Well, it's time to go. This is the man Jesus affirmed, Matthew 24:15. He calls him the abomination of desolation. Paul talks about him. He was the one, he says, I told you already about him. Paul taught from Daniel. John said in 1 John 2, he says, you've already heard about the Antichrist. He taught them what the scriptures say. If you live so long, and if I live so long, and we get to Revelation chapter 12, do you know what the whole chapter is about? 6 chapters from now? That the key to understanding everything that's going on is God said, I have picked Israel and placed my name on them, and they are going to be there to receive me at the second coming. God already wrote in Zechariah 12 through 14 that the Jews are going to be like this, saying, Messiah, save us. Satan says, whoa, if I can get rid of them, then God's word will not come true, and I won. So all of human history, the devil has been trying to get rid of Israel from the beginning. He started in Genesis 6 by demonizing, and so God flooded the whole earth. So he says, okay, I'm going to kill all the firstborn in Egypt. That's Exodus 1. That didn't work. So he said, and he waited a little while, and he says, here is the ultimate Israelite, Jesus Christ. I'm going to kill him as a baby. That didn't work. So he comes and tempts him and says, hey, you don't have to do anything but bow to me. And Jesus said no. So what does he do after that? He tries to drown him when he's in a fishing boat, sleeping. And that didn't work. And so he gets a whole group of people in Luke 4 to try and push him over the cliff edge in Nazareth. And Jesus disappeared, so he gets the gang together in John 8 and other places, and they pick up stones to stone Jesus. But he disappears again. So Satan finally enters Judas. Enters him. And makes Judas betray Christ. And Satan was so excited, he watched, and he was holding his breath, and he made it, and they nailed him, and he died. And he went, the King of Israel, I got him. And then, right, Paul said Satan would not have crucified Christ. He would not have been behind the religious leaders inciting them if he would have known the plan. See, he doesn't understand the Bible. He